All right, we are here. It is episode 2 of Gives in the Bank recruiting podcast on BuckeyesScoop.com. We have a special guest for our second episode. We have five-star football prospect and Ohio State commit and retired basketball player Jack Sawyer with us today. How you doing today, Jack?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. Everyone's kind of dealing with the shutdown a little differently. What's the last few months been like for you, and how are you doing with getting in shape, and kind of what's your routine been as everyone kind of tries to navigate these last few months? It's been very interesting.
Yeah, I've just been trying to, get to my gym and work out and keep the same routine, staying in shape with agility and stuff too, making sure I'm, practicing my get-offs and flipping my hips and, going through bags and stuff like that. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to, continue to still keep working out at the gym. So everything's been going great. Just trying to get stronger and faster every day.
Jack, I wanted to ask you, last year in your junior season, we saw you playing quarterback for most of the year. The question I would have is, I know you did that to help your team out, but how do you think did it have any effect on your development as a defensive end? Or, how do you view that junior year?
Yeah, I don't think it had any negative effect on my development for defensive end. I was still able to, get some valuable snaps, on third downs and pass downs. So I still felt like I got better as a defensive end that year. And it was kind of crazy. It kind of just got thrown into the fire. I was willing to step into there and play a different position than my natural position. To help the team win. And, I was all for it. So. It was kind of weird at first, but I got used to it. I got used to running onto the field on third downs and as much as I can on defense, as much as the coaches would let me on defense. So it was fun.
Now for this year, what's the plan for that? Are you going to be kind of back as a defensive end full time? Are you going to be playing any quarterback or even on offense? At all? Have you had any discussions about that so far in terms of where we might see you lined up this fall?
You're going to see me lined up at defensive end full time. I don't think I'm going to play hardly any offense. I don't think you're going to see me playing any offense at all. It's kind of it's a big year, senior year. I did what I had to do last year for the team. And, this year talking with Coach Hillerich, I want to be back on the defensive side of the ball full time and, ready to rock and roll on that side of the ball. So that's the plan. So.
Hey, Jack, you're part of, the number one recruiting class in the country right now, and kind of heading toward one of the greatest recruiting classes in the history of internet recruiting. Have you taken an active role in trying to recruit others to Ohio State?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. As soon as I committed, I was on the recruiting trail trying to get guys that the coaching staff has told me and, because Kyle joined me so early on too that, so the coaches had a great connection with us trying to reach out and get kids early on. And, we've just had such a aggressive approach. We DM kids all the time, let them know, like, look, man, you want to come be a part of something special. You want to come get developed by, the best coaching staff, one of the best strength coaches in America, get you ready to play at the highest level of college football and prepare you to play at the highest level of NFL football too. You need to come make the jump to Ohio State. And that's kind of what we did. It shows, as you mentioned, our internet rankings are almost the best of all time, and it will be the best of all time when we're done. Just throwing that out there, we will have the best class. And then, we kind of like it. We kind of embrace it. We kind of like that. We're going in as the top dogs because then we're going to have to, work our butts off just that much harder to try to back it up when we're there. So it's just been fun, trying to go out there and get other top recruits in the country.
Yeah, and defensive line is going to be super important for you guys in this class, this 21 class. Coach Johnson's trying to kind of reload after a lot of NFL guys here these last couple of years. You got a great start here. You and Tunisi and Big Mike and, some big fish still out there, obviously. A guy like JT, a Taiwan Malone out of New Jersey. I mean, those guys are really laid back, so I don't know how much even communicating they would even do with some of the commits. But, how do you kind of look at that both in terms of, on your end as far as all the competition and, adding someone potentially like JT to what you guys already have? I mean, do you look at that as a positive for everybody? And then, kind of the part two of that would be have you been talking to any of those guys or getting any feel for how those guys are doing right now?
Oh yeah. Great questions. For the first one, all of us, man, we embrace the competition. We want to get the best players possible to come join us. And, the best man's going to end up playing at the end of the day. So, we're just going to – I feel like the better players we get in each position, it's just going to push us that much better, be that much better day in and day out in practice and in the weight room and as leaders of the community and all that stuff. So, so we're definitely embracing that. And then for part two, honestly, I can't tell you if any of us have talked to JT. He doesn't really do the whole social media thing. He kind of stays kind of low-key. So, honestly, I haven't talked to him personally. I think a couple other kids might have, but like you said, very laid-back guy. So, haven't really heard much from him.
Jack, you'd mentioned, how hard you've been working since, your season ended. Have you had any influence from either Larry Johnson or Mickey Marotti? Have they kind of pointed you toward anything that they want to see you do, any area they want to see you improve in your workouts?
Yeah, I would say they don't really pick like that so specifically, but obviously, Coach Johnson, just preaches to me, just stay fast, stay fast, stay athletic. Don't try to, put on too much weight and make a bad weight, and Coach Mariotti just tells me, to push myself in the weight room as much as I can, all that type of stuff, and just kind of just get better at each and everything I can possibly, just day in and day out, just making sure I'm staying on top of all my stuff and perfecting my craft, and doing a lot of film study lately too, watching all the different guys, really breaking down the film of their technique and what they do and how I can emulate that to my game.
I want to ask you a little bit about your relationship with Coach Johnson. I think Ohio State was always going to be a top contender for you, just being a Central Ohio guy. So there was always going to be maybe a little bit of a built-in advantage there, but it felt like you were pretty serious about some other places, as you started the recruiting process. I know Penn State was a school you liked. But something seemed to click there, that camp you worked out with Coach Johnson, I guess, 2 years ago now, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Something seemed to go from, okay, Ohio State's a contender to Ohio State's the contender, and it's going to take quite an effort for anyone else to pull you away from working with Coach Johnson at the college level. What can you tell us about that day and kind of that workout and why, if I'm correct in that read, why I'm correct in that read in terms of what kind of sold you there that was going to be maybe the school for you?
I think you hit it right on the button. The first workout I ever had with Coach Johnson, like you said, it's kind of like we just clicked. We kind of felt like we just went together with the way he coached and the way I received coaching and how I can, I'm receptive to coaching. And, it's Coach Johnson's, one of the best people I think I've ever met in my life, and a great teacher, a great coach, and he's always willing to coach and help you in each and every way. And he has a special impact on people too that's hard to describe. And I guess, like you said, I think he kind of set it over the top with being Ohio State, like you said, making it a contender to the contender. You know what I mean? And just the way he coaches, and you can obviously see the talent he's had and the people he's put into the league at my position is outstanding. It's not even close to anybody else ever as a position coach, I don't think. And, like you said, I think it's just really just more of a feeling if we just kind of click as a player to coach how he coaches and how I, receive coaching. So it was a no-brainer.
Jack, I have kind of a two-part thing here. You'd mentioned in your workouts and stuff, number one is, who's the player that you want to emulate the most? Is there one guy that you kind of watch on the defensive end position? And then the second part, how would you describe yourself as a player, as the defensive end?
I would say number one, if I had to pick one player to want to play like, it would definitely be Nick Bosa. The season he had last year as a rookie in the NFL is ridiculous. It seemed like every snap of the game he was impacting it somehow, some way. So I would probably say him, or even Chase Young with the season he had last year. And then part two, can you repeat part two again?
How would you describe yourself as the defensive end?
I don't know. I don't really like to do too much bragging or anything, but I would probably describe myself as high motor, physical, good technique, good hands, and just high motor, plays super hard, aggressive, plays to the whistle.
Unfortunately, you got dinged there in your last game last season, so you weren't able to play basketball in the spring. Can you give, we don't want to put you in a weird spot, but can you give us kind of an update on how you're feeling health-wise? Is everything good? I think I know the answer, but I just kind of hear it from the horse's mouth on how you're doing right now physically.
Oh man, I feel better than I ever have felt in my life. I'm probably about 25 pounds heavier than last football season. Put on some good muscle last few months. I'm up to like 245. I'm moving better than I ever have in my life. Honestly, I just feel the best I've ever felt. As far as strength, as far as speed, and so like you said, the update is just better than I ever have been before.
Jack, first, where are you at in terms of height and weight right now?
I'm about 6'5", and I'm weighing like 245 right now.
Wow. And then, you were such a great basketball player. How did your basketball, the skills you learned in basketball, how did that help you playing defensive end?
Yeah, basketball, in my opinion, I think basketball is the ultimate athlete sport. You have to be fast. You have to be able to bend, able to, move and jump quick off the ground and then get back up off the ground real fast and explosive. So I think basketball has definitely helped me been able to learn how to bend corners, explode in times where you're kind of like off balance or whatnot. And, definitely helped me a lot with the footwork too. Basketball is all about footwork. So basketball has helped me in various ways with football. Just like bending the corner and all those types of stuff it helps with too. So basketball has been huge.
And you are enrolling early, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're going to be on campus in January.
That doesn't rule out the first 8 games of the basketball season. I'm just saying.
I have a feeling that as soon as this goes up, you're going to be getting a call from Ryan Day. Just so you know about that. I think you're going to find some resistance on that. Just my opinion. But we'll wrap this up with kind of a light question here. I've gotten to know your parents pretty well. They're great people, but kind of the one interesting thing, you guys have a food truck, kind of a side hustle there. You guys are doing some stuff with the food truck. Can you kind of tell us about that a little bit and kind of is it something you're personally involved with in terms of they make you work it, or kind of just how's that been going, and kind of explain to everyone kind of what you guys are doing?
It's called Grilled Cheese Gangsters. It's a grilled cheese truck. It has everything from a bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwich to dumpster tots, to pulled pork with mac and cheese. It's got all that good stuff, and I honestly personally don't work it. I've been so busy working out and whatnot, and it's hard for me to fit on the truck. Honestly, in my head, I gotta bend over when I'm in it most of the time. So I personally don't work it, but it's great food. It's honestly great food.
I'm shocked your dad does not make you work that food truck. I really am. I got to talk to him about that. We got to get you. We got to instill a work ethic here. This is crazy. I mean, you're already a pampered athlete. This is getting ridiculous.
I know, man. I know.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, Jack. You'll see a lot of us, I'm sure, here once things get going here, and we wish you the best of luck the next couple months as you get training for the season. And obviously we'll be out to see you this fall, and wish you the best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. It means a lot.
Thanks, Jack.
All right. So it was great catching up with Jack. Known Jack for quite a while. Great family, great kid. We're going to transition here into a little bit of recruiting talk with Bill and myself. Right now, probably offensive line is the hot topic. Alex had a great piece Tuesday morning on J.C. Latham, longtime Ohio State target, longtime Ohio State lean. Now maybe heading toward Alabama here in recent weeks. And so that's going to create some interesting discussion points on the offensive line. I guess first of all, Bill, what's your take on Latham right now and kind of what that means?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a continuation of what we've seen across the country since the coronavirus hit. There have been so many kids that ended up committing places that kind of surprised us. And Ohio State has been the beneficiary with a lot of those. Like, nobody had them getting to Misi. I don't think a lot of people had them getting Travion Henderson at one point. So they've kind of benefited, this whole period. Now it looks like they're going to lose one that everybody kind of thought they had. And of course, all this, we're going to be looking at all of this stuff when the official visits do open up in the fall. So right now, Ohio State has been amazing in this recruiting cycle. So it's almost inevitable that you're going to get a little bit of bad news. And it sure looks like Latham is gone for now to Alabama. I know there's maybe some optimism with some people that, you can get him back later, but you've got, Coach Stud going to have to go against, Coach Flood and Coach Saban down at Bama, and that's not easy. They don't lose a lot of guys, so I don't know. I mean, it's kind of very surprising. I didn't see this coming. I had Latham in the Ohio State class for so long that this is really a surprise to me. But it's almost inevitable that there are going to be decommitments coming or surprises coming, because this has just been the craziest year. We've got more kids committed right now in early June than we have the past 2 Junes combined. So I think, it's bound to be a little crazy, and I think the craziness is really going to start in the fall. So I guess it was to be expected at some point that Ohio State would have some bad news come their way.
Yeah, we're kind of in that period right now where you do expect the unexpected. Just so many guys making decisions either earlier than expected, or maybe they were going to announce around this time, but they're doing so now without maybe all the information they would have had they had a chance to get out in the spring and early portions of the summer, as they normally would. So there's definitely a lot of volatility out there, to use a stock market term, but it's going to be interesting when these visits open back up and see, can Ohio State get some of the guys they've missed on the last few months to consider a visit, and, can they hold on to what they have? So that's going to be definitely very interesting to follow here the next few months. With the offensive line in general, I mean, they've got 2 very good ones right now. Ben Chrisman and Donovan Jackson are top 100 prospects. They're 2 of the very best in the country. But they need at least 2 more in this class, and Latham's looking to possibly be slipping away here a little bit. And now they find themselves in quite a battle for Jagger Burton out of Kentucky, and Burton's a guy that, they've been right there for, along with Kentucky. Alabama's lurking a little bit. That's been a top guy for them as well. He was supposed to visit twice in the spring. Obviously was not able to make either of those trips due to the shutdown. And, he's looking at maybe an August 24th decision, but, that's up in the air too. So kind of where do you have that one right now, Bill?
Yeah, I never really had Ohio State as a lean or a lot, definitely not a lock like I did Latham. I just continually have looked at this that, you look back at the past few years of Ohio State going after a Kentucky offensive lineman and having Coach Stud battle Vince Marrow for those kids, it just hasn't worked out for Ohio State. They've never beat Vince Marrow. Stud hasn't beat him yet for an old lineman out of Kentucky. So I didn't like the odds there to begin with. And then Alabama kind of snuck back in that picture too. So right now, from what I'm hearing, I think Alabama and Kentucky are neck and neck, and I think Ohio State is probably in the third spot. So I'm not super optimistic on Burton. And, if we're looking at who, if we prioritize those two kids, I mean, I would take Latham over Burton in a freaking heartbeat. I saw Latham in person at the end of February at the Under Armour combine down there in Orlando, and I thought he was the best kid there. And I think his best future is coming for him. He's nowhere near a finished product. So, Ohio State's got to fight that one. If those 5-star offensive tackles don't grow on trees, especially a kid that plays at IMG, the coaching he's going to get, the people he goes against in practice every day, he is going to get a lot better. So I would fight that one to death. Burton to me is, I think they can get a Jagger Burton somewhere else. I think there's some interesting kids in Ohio for 2021. I don't know how high Ohio State would be on a guy like Terrence Rankle at Massillon that I really like a lot. And I think he's kind of a project, kind of fit with some of the guys they took last year. But I think the payoff could be really huge for Rankle because he's like 6'6" now, very athletic, has played tight end before and just growing into his body. So he would be my pick of the group of senior to be offensive linemen in Ohio. And I think there's 2 or 3 there that are really good.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if this starts to go a little bit sideways for them with offensive line recruiting, where you lose Latham, you feel Burton's maybe not going to end up in the class, and you're going to still be needing 2, kind of where this one goes. I think a natural transition will be, I think we'll start hearing a lot more about Rayshon Benny, really athletic, high upside kid out of Oak Park, Michigan. Ohio State's got an interesting history there with the DeJuan Mathis and Justin Rogers recruitments, so that's going to be kind of a thing to watch there. But that's a guy I think that would start to maybe get the full court press a little bit. Obviously, Garrett Dellinger is another guy that they're going to be trying to push for here. He's got a June 24th decision. Ohio State's in the top 4. Most people have that going to LSU. I tend to agree with that. I don't know if that's enough time to get back into that one at this point. I think you'd have to bump him off of that. With Burton, my stance on Burton right now is that if he decides on August 24th, I think it's going to be Kentucky. And if he decides to wait and take visits, I think that opens it wide open to Ohio State and Alabama. I think it gets very interesting at that point. But if this is the decision date that he's going to follow through on, I would give Kentucky an edge there over the 2 national powers. But it's going to be interesting to see. And I agree with you on Rankle. I think he's a good-looking kid. I don't think while they need some numbers here, I don't know that they're desperate to get an instant impact guy with Chrisman and Donovan Jackson already in the fold. I think you could take a guy like Terrence Rankle and develop him for a couple years if they want to go that direction. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here along the offensive line if some of these pieces start to fall apart a little bit. It's going to be that could be something that could be one of the bigger recruiting storylines to watch this fall, because right now there's not a lot of mystery. There's not a lot of targets left, and if you're looking for some intrigue and some mystery, that may be where you find it this fall for Ohio State. But let's move on a little bit. So an interesting thing we kind of talked about before, I think I mentioned this in my recruiting column a few weeks ago, the class of 2023 in Ohio. So we normally would be discovering a lot of kids right now on the camp circuit, at college camps, at the various national regional camps, 7-on-7s, a lot of that stuff. We'd normally be starting to peel back the layers on 2023. We obviously didn't get a chance to do that this year, but there are still some very talented kids in Ohio already. I'm really excited about the class. I think there's 3 high-level kids already, And the fact that we don't even, these kids haven't played their sophomore years yet, and we were robbed of an entire camp cycle, intrigues me about what else could be out there. But I'm going to start with a guy that I know you like quite a bit. You've seen quite a bit is Brennan Vernon up at Menor, 2023 defensive end. We just had Jack Sawyer on, and I believe you feel he's kind of the next Jack Sawyer type of guy.
It's funny because you and I think, laid eyes on Jack Sawyer at the same time. You might have seen him before I did, but we saw that scrimmage. It would have been prior to Jack's freshman year when Pick North scrimmaged Zach Harrison's Olentangy Orange team. We saw Alex Williams had a great day that day. Of course, Zach was Zach. And then you were kind of the one that said, hey, there's a freshman tight end over here that you might want to keep an eye on. We were at different companies then. And it was that 6'5" string bean, but boy, you could tell he was going to be special. And then as I fast forward to last year, I saw a scrimmage in Stark County when Menor came down and scrimmaged Massillon Jackson. And the Menor coach, Steve Tribisano, told me about Brennan Vernon. He said, I got a freshman DN. It's going to be the best player to ever come out of Menor. And they've had nothing but studs come out of there. And I'm going to tell you, I watched Brennan in that scrimmage, filmed it. And Brennan was better in that scrimmage than Jack was at the same point of their careers prior to playing their first game of their freshman year. And then I saw Brennan last year in the playoffs, round 4, I believe. They played Pick Central, and he was tremendous in that game and even better than what he was early in the year. So to me, Brennan Vernon is Jack Sawyer, and to me, Jack Sawyer is Joey and Nick Bosa. I think Brennan will be a 5-star kid, just like we thought Jack would be, and Jack is. So Brennan Vernon to me is following in the Sawyer-Bosa footsteps of just a superstar. Now, he's a lot thicker than Jack was when Jack was a freshman, but he's not far off athletically. So he may be that athletic, strong side guy that is just such a rarity, that is big and powerful, physical, but also has that lightning first step. So Brennan Vernon to me is as special a freshman as I've seen in the last 5-6 years in Ohio.
Yeah, you've seen more of him than I have to this point. The film's super impressive, and I remember we had caught up at, I don't know what game we were at. We used to run into each other several times a year at games and stuff. And I remember you telling me, that you had just seen him at that scrimmage you were talking about. So I don't know, it might have been week 1 or might even been a scrimmage that we were at before the season.
It might have been.
Maybe the Pick Central Kaufman scrimmage.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Yeah, you had kind of talked him up. Here's another guy that I'm really intrigued with is Luke Montgomery out of Findlay. He might be a tight end. He might be a defensive end. I look at him, especially after I saw the pictures he put on Twitter the other day where he's about 265 pounds of muscle already. And I see like Lane Johnson there. I see a potential franchise type of offensive tackle that he could possibly grow into. What do you think of Luke Montgomery? And are you with me on offensive tackle, or do you think maybe he's something else? Because for me, he's the wild card in terms of the Ohio kids right now and what he could maybe be in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. What I like about him is he is really in the process of reshaping his body. I thought he was carrying a little bit too much weight last year. And I think he's grown an inch, and I think he's either lost some weight, and if he hasn't lost weight, then he's reshaped his body because he looks a heck of a lot better. Now, he was a heck of a player last year as a freshman and playing a heck of a schedule, too, there. The night I saw him, they played Toledo St. John's, and that was a war, and that kid just played his tail off both sides of the ball. His dad is a former college player. I believe Miami of Ohio is where his dad played, and I did talk to his dad about Luke maybe being the prototype left tackle down the road, and his dad was all in on that. He totally agreed with me, and he said something that was pretty smart that I agree with, is that we just got to see where his body takes him. I could see him maybe being a Cade Stoverish tight end type, or, maybe another strong side defensive end. But, man, I'm with you all the way on that. He's got length and he's got the great feet. He is a basketball player, not just a stumpy 6'6" guy that gets his 5 fouls and beats people up. He is an actual player. Played on the LeBron James stuff in the summer, the AAU stuff. So he is so athletic. The footwork is so good, and he's so quick that, man, he could end up being, a millionaire here in about 5 or 6 years, as an offensive tackle at the NFL level. So his dad is aware of that, and we just got to see. You got to see where his body takes him. But he's definitely just someone really to watch, and I would have him just right behind Brennan Vernon. But both of them is just guys that are going to end up with multiple Power 5 offers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably too early to rank these guys, but I know you're going to be in the Brennan Vernon camp as far as possibly the number one player in Ohio in that class. I'm gonna throw out a candidate to that crown. Alex Stiles out of Pick Central, younger brother of Lorenzo Stiles Jr. Obviously was a longtime Ohio State target, committed to Notre Dame back in the fall. We got robbed of seeing him his freshman football season. He had a kind of a broken bone in his leg that he suffered right at the end of AAU basketball over the summer, and they held him out at Pickerington Central for the entire football season. And Pickerington Central won the state championship. He won the Division I Ohio state championship. And Alex, they call him Sonny. So if I slip and call him Sonny, that's who I'm talking about. Alex was penciled in to be their starting strong safety before the season even started as a freshman. So if you go back and you look at the history of Pickerington Central, if you play as a freshman at Pickerington Central, you are pretty much guaranteed to be about 20 offer kid. It's a slam dunk pretty much. You don't play as a freshman there unless you can really go. And so I got a chance to see him, I believe it was January at Flying to the Hoop, the basketball tournament in Dayton every year. And they were playing some national prep academy or something like that. And Alex is jumping center for the Pickerington Central basketball team, which is also one of the best basketball programs in the state of Ohio. He's a 6'3.5" above the rim basketball player, lockdown defender, long arms. He's one of those guys who can go up and pin someone's shot up at the top of the block. I mean, he's just an unbelievable run and jump athlete. And everyone over there at Pickerington Central tells me he's got a mean streak to him as well. I think this kid, as a outside linebacker, maybe edge rusher type guy, has a chance to be an absolutely unbelievable player. I think, you compared Brennan Vernon to a Bosa or a Jack Sawyer. I think Alex Stiles has a Von Miller type of game. I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see him this fall. There's just, if you know the guys at Pick Central, they don't hype their young kids. They go out of their way to kind of not do that. And no one can shut up about this kid. It's fascinating to me.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's your area, down there. But you know how I feel about that Pick Central program. I love that program. I love the way Coach Sherritt I like everything they do. And I saw that kid when they played down here in Stark County, when they played Mentor in the playoffs, and I didn't really know who he was. I just saw a kid walking around on the sidelines, all arms and legs, and I was like, who is that? Who's that guy? And they were like, well, that's Sonny Stiles. And it was like, okay, I get it. Didn't look like a freshman at all. I mean, you don't see many freshmen that look like that. And I can't wait to see him play. Well, I'd be interested in seeing him play basketball. I think Mick Walker saw him play hoops not too long ago. So, yeah, I mean, that's something to get excited about. When when that program talks hype about someone, they have to be good because they've got 10 D1 kids every year. And like you say, they usually prop their seniors. So for them to talk about a freshman, sophomore to be, he's got the bloodlines. I mean, his dad was a great football player. I love the older brother, Lorenzo. I mean, I think Lorenzo's got a chance to be really special at Notre Dame at the college level. So Sonny Stiles is just a guy that I just can't wait to see him. And, hopefully this fall we get football going and I take in Pick Central at some point and watch that kid.
Going to be interesting, and it's never too early to start kind of talking about the next wave. And so for me it's really exciting to have 3 kids like that in 2023 that we know about already, that have already shown something, whether it's the varsity level for Vernon and Montgomery varsity football, or whether it's the varsity basketball level for Stiles, who didn't get to play football due to the injury this past year. But to have 3 kids who I think we all agree are going to be national caliber recruits, with 3 years left of high school football to go, even for a state like Ohio, is a little bit unusual. So it's going to be interesting this fall. There's a lot of young guys I'm eager to watch, and so we're excited to hopefully be getting football back here soon, and hopefully start to bring you guys some coverage of these guys, and get you some video and some insight into how these guys have progressed since last season. So that's going to wrap it up here for the Gives in the Bank podcast. But we glad you were with us today, and hopefully you keep tuning in. But till next time, we'll see you later.